What's good, y'all, and welcome to another video. Today we are going to be having a look at the Keeper of the Dead, MALVIRA. So before we get into her kit, the effects of her kit, a little bit of story time. Number one, back in end of December, I had a developer interview. You've seen it as the roadmap for what is to come to the game, and they presented me with her while I smartly declared her, just based off her looks, female Praetus in front of the devs. A lot of you pointed out in the comments that they might have not thought it that funny, but there you go. So female Praetus is now finally here. MALVIRA, she is a multi-target attack durability high block unit. The important part is we're not going to have the usual me going over it first and then being like, oh wow, it's so crazy, because I've already spent 1.5 hours recording footage with her only to find out the fact that the audio got fucked up. So yeah, that's not that great. So I said he can't give you a first look. And we also won't be doing too much of what I've already done. I'm kind of just going to quick fire show you what she can do. I guess it's also better if it's in like a more concise way, but yeah, it's sad. So
our research begins.
base stat wise, we have 24,400 HP, which isn't all that high. Let's pull up someone like a Brock here. You see that Brocky has 28, 3k attack, which is unimportant, and then 4k defense, while MALVIRA only clocks at 24.4, 3.7 defense, and then you have a magic rest of almost 1,000. You have 19 cost, 3 block, 55 redeployment time because she's a northerner, and then attack interval and whatever. It's not that important, right? She also currently wears gear. Her attack interval usually is 2.4 seconds. She's described as multi-target attack durability high block. Reason why is obviously in her kit. Let me explain it to you. Number one, damage scales off of HP. And yes, once again already, she is not a damage dealer. This is there just for fun. You might as well change it into damage scales off of HP, but please don't rely on it for damage, because this is there just to clarify the fact that we were kind of funky and gave her a different way to deal damage, but actually no. So yeah, damage scales of HP, she still doesn't do damage. Deal with it. That's kind of the way it goes. So naturally she reduces her damage taken by 10%, and then every 2 instances of getting hit, she gains an extra stack of resentment. Resentment is above the stacks up to 5 times, giving her up to 15% damage reduction. And also when the state resentment is completely removed, she restores 10% HP per stack. Will get relevant later on. So furthermore, a 100% chance to gain a resentment stack when an allied summon dies. So for example, imagine Zarus summoning his like little attack balls and then they just disappear, counts as dying. She gains a stack. When deployed, she immediately gains 3 stacks. So naturally, upon deployment, we're already talking about a 19% damage reduction just from the talent, and then right here from resentment. Next up, AE magic attack, 120% damage to up to 5 enemies. Fine and all, but she doesn't do damage, alright? Second, Spirit Shield. When taking direct damage, she has a 20% chance to gain a shield equal to 10% max HP for 5 seconds. So every 5th attack is going to trigger a 10% max HP shield. When resentment reaches full stacks, so upon deployment she has 3, let her get hit 4 times and you add 5 stacks resentment. What then happens is this ability turns into an AoE that does twice the amount of damage, so still 0, but she does also consume a stack of resentment. Though as far as I can tell, this resentment doesn't count when it gets consumed here. It will only count during the ultimate, which you'll see in a couple seconds. Important though is Oath of the Damned. When she's taking fatal damage, she can consume 3 stacks of resentment, and then enter an unyielding state that lasts for 6 seconds. That trigger interval is 60 seconds. So upon deployment, she has 3 stacks of resentment. If she were to get one shot directly upon deployment, she instantly enters into unyielding. This unyielding obviously doesn't have a max. It's kind of this, kind of similar to my guy Stony Tanky Boy we already talked about, where he also has a cooldown, but hers is only half as long, but her invincibility isn't nearly as long. So again, resentment stacks are fluctuating, where you have a max of 5, you're losing 1 every time you hit 5, and you're losing 3 every time you need to revive. And then you have the ultimate. So in the ultimate, she pulls up to 6 furthest enemy targets in range towards her, and then consumes all the stacks of resentment to deal 600% AoE damage to up to 10 enemies, and then 20% more per resentment stack. So at 5 stacks of resentment, you would be dealing 700% AoE damage. And then, yeah, important. After she does this motion, for 10 seconds, she has 3 extra block. So you have a unit that can block up to 6. And then if you obviously, like you're supposed to, include a Bastion Ring, you can block 7 units with a single unit. Then introduce someone like an Isolde behind this unit. And then all of a sudden you're going to be able to block 8. So MALVIRA can block up to 8 units if you give her some help. Awakening's really simple, right? When Call of the Reaper is cast, when the ultimate is cast, she applies the Spirit Shield, 10% max HP shield to other allies within 2 tiles. Is whatever. The cost reduction of 3 puts her down to 16, is whatever. The A3, where during the ultimate she only takes 80% of the damage, and then after the ultimate ends she takes the other 20% damage over 10 seconds, so 2% of that damage every second. So simple example, she takes 100k damage during the ultimate, she only gets hit for 80k during it, and then she takes the 20k in the 10 seconds after, meaning 2k damage per second after the ultimate ends. Nice, but to be fair, she already seemed tanky enough to the point where this wasn't really necessary. And then we have the A5. Each enemy hero killed increases the hero's max HP by 2%, stacking up to 10 times. Kind of seems very useless-ish. Like, I wouldn't put any value in this A5, which is great, because if the A5 would be what makes this unit nice, then we would be in deep, deep trouble. Yeah. So, quick damage reduction calculation for you all. 10% naturally. You can calculate with 12, because most of the time you're gonna be at 4 stacks because of the way that she, every time she's full stack, she removes one. So that's already 22% damage reduction just from her talent alone with resentment. And then if you block 4 targets, you can add on top of this an additional 36% damage reduction from this artifact. So 36 plus 20, 56% damage reduction. And then if you really wanted to, you could give her a Guardian set where she gains an additional 15% damage reduction. So 58, 56, 61, 71%. It's a lot, right? It's a lot. So let me just show you a couple of things with her, and then we already called this video day. I'll give you my feedback, and it's fine. Reason why we're kind of like rushing through this is I've done this before, right? Insert Squid Game meme. I've played these games before. I've legit already covered this all once over. So that's kind of why I already know the result and can't really be like, what could happen if I do this? Oh, really? So yeah, that's the reason why. So, though to be fair, I didn't test this exact thing. I didn't just put her in front of AMR 18, but this should give us a very solid idea of just her tanking. So we put her in. She has her full stacks. So 1 hit, 2 hits, she should now be on 4 stacks. 1 hit, 2 hits, she should now be on 5 stacks. This was the big slash, so she's now down to 4 stacks again. Hit. And then you see, look at this damage, right? Obviously we have an endgame gear set on her, but yeah. And then here we can also activate the ultimate, where you see she did remove the stacks of resentment, and as a reward she restored her HP by 50% max HP. Keep in mind, she also still has unyielding. She still has unyielding, and every time she does the big slash, she also heals more. This is a level of tankiness, a level of self HP restoral that just doesn't exist in the game at the moment. It's just not a thing. Units aren't supposed to be this self-sufficiently tanky. And just in case, we'll just be putting her here and taking care of the other lanes. Because why not? Let's have her. Yeah, let's see how long she can survive completely on her own. Let's see how long she can survive completely on her own there. So here we can ult. Get like the big HP boost. Alright, let's let the boss get a bit stronger. Why not? So now she triggered invulnerability. And she's back up to 56k. And there you go. That's quite a long time. And that's obviously without any other healers around her. So yeah, she has self-healing. She has damage reduction. She has all these funny mechanics. But once again, or for the first time in this video, I guess, she is just a tank. Alright? She's just a tank. What she's doing isn't special, right? What she's doing isn't special. Wow, she's a tank, she's surviving hits. That's kind of what she's supposed to do anyway. So yeah, here, just as like this block example. This feat is somewhat impressive though, and that is also keep in mind for the AMR test we had an artifact that scales with the amount of units blocked, and we didn't really have all that many units on the field that were blocked. Well, you know, you get what I mean, right? So yeah, let's put in these healers. So obviously, before we even get to like any conclusion part and such, yeah, I should have already known that healer codex, right? Healer codex is gonna be pretty much her place to shine, and not healer, tank codex. Here, let's regenerate some rage, and then you'll see. Okay, we pull them all in. Let's also bring in the enter here, because why not? And then if we activated Isolde's ultimate at this time, which we could have, she would have blocked everybody. But even like this, I know it's hard to see her HP, but she's barely going below. She's barely going below, like, I don't know, 80% max HP. It is pretty impressive. Like, if you're looking for a chunky, tanky tank, she's your girl person thing. Ugly unit. But, I don't know. Do you really, right? Where do you look for this? So now let me already give you the conclusion of a thing that we haven't tested in this video, because again, everything kind of got corrupted, which sucks. And that is, let me just show you a test team in a sense, which would look something like this, right? And then talk a bit about the problem of a team like this. Let's say we have a tanky tank, right? So the reason why in Abyss 1 you need a tank is there's multiple attacks that here, like for example, Meteoric Deluge, target the unit with the highest max HP, and then max HP after the lightning, high damage, platform, Annihilate, targets the hero with the highest HP on the battlefield and deals massive damage all the time. If no other units are adjacent to the target, all damage is concentrated, resulting in instant death. For this instant death, a 60-second invulnerability window that can be recharged would be really, really useful. Though the issue comes with like placements. If you do try to support her with like, let's say, a healer and such, you end up in a scenario where you can't really place her like away from others to the point where it would even work, you know? So you kind of end up in this scenario where you can't place her far enough away from everybody while still trying to like keep her healed up. Okay, I think we're fine like this though. I mean, we might as well do a little bit of a run here. Let me show you a little bit of how. So one of the major tips for Abyss 1, Kigiri is OP. Okay, that's what you gotta know. Kigiri is OP. Wukong not as much. Yeah, and then you kind of see, right, if she's all there by herself, it's just, even with all the tankiness in the world, outside of a see, one of the main problems is Percy. Percy's range doesn't really allow for a spot that is like one tile removed from everybody else while still being in his range. So yeah, what killed her here was Meteoric Deluge, max HP, physical damage, nearby units, full screen shockwave. Yeah, right? And if she can't survive, then what really are we talking about? Now, what I'm truly curious about is where did her invulnerability go? Huh? Looks like it just got used up at some place before. So now we have the real problems. So to be fair, we might also just be able to like make Kigiri the highest HP and then just like don't give a fuck about a tank. Probably not gonna work, but would be quite nice. Here we have Drake's Bellow, fine. You see there's a whole lot of damage, right? So one of the main issues here is you take a whole lot of damage, everything does way too much damage, and then you kind of end up dying, which means you need to bring more healers, and if you bring more healers, there's only limited space for healers, so you kind of want like ground-based DPS. But then your ground-based DPS, because you bring all of those, are like clumped up, and then everybody just dies. It's an unfortunate fight. Yeah, this is like, for example, this is something I played around with, and the real issue here is her faction, right? Why would you bring her as a tank? Why would you bring her as a tank with having a Northerner and a Curse faction? Even with all the Northern heroes that we've gotten in the past like 2 weeks, where we got Lynx, where we got Rock, where we got all these, or Rocks, or whatever his name was, we got all these Northerner units, but we're still missing the most important part, and that is a true damage dealing Northerner unit. Yes, Glacius exists, but he's just not in the same in the same dimensions as other DPS. And also there's so much damage going on here, Glacius can't even really reliably keep a shield upon himself. But yeah, Abyss 1, keep in mind, yes, she can tank it. Yes, if you place her in your team, she's gonna be fine. But then, can't you just do it with anybody else? And another reason why she's not, I don't think she's that favorable for Abyss 1 is the fact that she does not provide a lot of survivability to her team. Yes, you could argue her A1 where if you use her ultimate, everybody gets a 10% shield. It's nice, but it can work in like triggering Northerners. It can work in more like campaign-esque, Void Rift-esque scenarios. But for this fight, or like for more damage-based fights, it's just not impactful enough. Now, I know it didn't look too promising, her tankiness, but trust me, she's tanky. She's very tanky. She's also very ugly, but she's very tanky. Let's just go through the conclusion, right? So, you have a very high block, tanky, self-healing tank from dual faction with her main use again being tank codex. More units to block, more units or more blocking means you can block more of them, they take more damage, they die, more of them die, you get more points. Issue, you can already do that with all the other units in the game. You don't need her to get like a triple S score. So once again, we're looking at a tank that, I mean, she's a tank, right? Kind of the same problem with Rock. You can't really get too excited about a unit that doesn't do anything unique. Unique in the sense that yes, she's good at staying alive, but so is someone like a Brockius, so is someone like an Oleg. Yeah, she's tanky. If you're looking for a tank, sure, get her. Another nitpicking would be she's a Curse Faction member, but she doesn't provide any debuffs, so she can't enable someone like a Vierna to do more damage. There's no slows, there's nothing like this. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what she's supposed to help with, right? Maybe there's gonna be a piece of content in the future. We can't always just pull or tell people to pull based on content in the future, because I mean, we have enough tanks. Like let's take a look at tanks. We have Crowder, who was free, who's also high block, not as high block, but he's tanky. King Hars, okay, he's not really tanky. You have Brock here. Let's just disable Northern faction. You have Torador, Azor, debatable. Reeves, rather popular, not really for his tankiness, but for the fact that he has a stun. Right, this is the thing, right? He's popular-ish because he has a stun, because he has that funny range, because he has something unique. Edith, she has pushback. If she had pushback, us having a second tank that's tankier than an Edith, because Edith isn't all that tanky. If she had pushback, that would be great. Now, another issue, I guess, is the pull in. The only reason why people remember pull in rather unfavorably is because of Admiral Claw. Admiral Claw tends to pull someone in front of him and then just die because he doesn't have any measure of tankiness. But she can actually tank what she's pulling in. Though it does only give you a 10-second window where you can take advantage of the 7 block. Garn is tanky. Trusk, you can make Trusk work tanky. Regulus, even though he's an OG, he can be made tanky. And then you have solid options like Isolde, Rock himself, Baron, Oleg. I don't know. Like, to be fair, she seems like a nice unit to pull off banner. Like, if you were to have to pull an off banner unit, you would pull her over someone like a Shamir, over someone like a Krag. And once again, it is a Northerner, but it isn't a mage. there's like a lot of complaints about Northerner faction trial not providing you with enough mages. I mean, you have Ajax, you have Shamir, you have Nocturne, you have Glaciers, and then you have Mary. Mary you always kind of bring, and then you need like a second one. So you need one of these guys right here. It's only 4 of them. And one of them is a Lord-like esque unit. So yeah, this is MALVIRA. and we see each other in the next one. Peace!